What's Up, Whittier?
Welcome to What's Up, Whittier, a homegrown podcast.
A podcast to showcase Whittier's businesses, personalities, and hidden treasures.
What's up, Whittier?
Dun, da, da, da.
So we're on location today. We're actually at the 59th Hillcrest Festival of Fine Arts. What episode was it, Christine, where we interviewed Kelly and Nancy, the featured artists for the event?
82, episode 82, the art of the eye.
And that's where Remo was actually missing in action.
I was enjoying art in Costa Rica.
That's right, my friend.
Living his pura vida.
That's right, getting a suntan, man. We had Roberto Chavez, who was co-hosting that podcast, and he was grateful enough to be able to have us here today and give us the opportunity to interview a couple artists who are participating today. And so you'll hear those artists in the next segments. But before we get into the artists themselves, Remo, was there anything that you saw that you were like, man, you were kind of blown away? Or
Yeah, so we got an opportunity to walk around before get a tour from Roberto. And the one thing that stands out to me, because I'm, as much as I would love to be more in art, I like practical stuff. And so the thing that stands out are those pens. So one of the exhibitors makes these pens out of wood material that are very practical and can be customized to any kind of profession. So I definitely got their card and probably be picking up a couple of those as the year goes on. And they're for what you get, I don't want to say inexpensive, but they're definitely I don't know what kind of word would you say?
Attainable. I mean, they're in the price range of something that's attainable for a custom piece.
And it's a beautiful pen, and under $100, which is something that you go to a store and you're not going to find anything, a specialty gift for someone that could be tailored to maybe their industry. And so we got a nice tour. Let's walk around and interview some people. And
what about you, Christine? Is there anything that you saw on the show that you would say or point out for somebody who has not been here yet for next year to definitely make it a part of their part of a trip?
Well, I definitely think that there are different music acts every single day. So I just learned today that I thought someone would be performing, but they got rescheduled to yesterday. They got changed. So I would definitely encourage people to come every single day, at least, for a couple of hours. The exhibits are open 8 hours a day at least. So you can check out the musical guests, hear the musical guests, eat the different types of food, walk around, and you actually have the opportunity to even speak to some of the artists that are here. And I think that really gives an insight into learning about the art.
Yeah. I definitely appreciate art more when I can talk to the person that put together the piece and understand the story. Yeah. If I just sit and stare at art on a wall, it doesn't do anything to me. But if you tell me, I painted this while I was on the beach thinking of this, then I'm like, oh man, this thing has a story.
Yeah.
And the more story you hear about the art, that's when it becomes, for me, cooler.
Yeah. No, again, it's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool art, a lot of cool pieces. For me, is kind of like what you just said, Christine, about making it maybe several trips out here, because it's definitely changing. Talking to one of the artists, what they had yesterday is no longer here because some of the pieces sold, so they had to come back and restock some of that stuff. So now you have a different show. So I think if that continues to happen today on through the weekend, then you'll essentially have 3 or 4 shows over the weekend. So for those who have not made it out, definitely make it or put it on your calendar to come on check it out, and bring money. Bring your wallet stuff, because
show me the money.
Some of that art out there is amazing. Like I said, for a good. And
they're
price.
one of a kind pieces. So
that's right.
You're gonna come here, find something you like. You're better off buying it than going home regretting it and try to find it. Never.
What Roberto told me the first night, he invited me to the award ceremony on Thursday, and he told me, he said, if you see something that you like, get it, because it's like TJ Maxx. It won't be here tomorrow. And I was like, you're so right. You're so right.
And one thing I forgot to mention, too, is the children's art workshop. So they actually have something for the family or for the kids. So if you come on out, Saturday, Sunday, they have a specific area where your kids could actually do hands-on crafting. So make it a family day event. With that said, anything else?
No, let's start walking.
There you go. Roberto, we finally meet again.
Yes, we we do. So thank you for being here. I'm so happy that you were able to make it.
No, thank you for inviting us.
This is
just
huge. A lot bigger than I thought
Gigantic,
it was.
right?
Yeah.
You mentioned when you first had that interview, you were talking about somewhere between 200 some artists. But now that you look at actually what 200 artists in a campus looks
And
like,
plus,
right? It's a lot of art.
Yes.
There's so much art that is
And different types of art.
Yeah.
Not just like it's painting. We just finished seeing a pen exhibit that had some beautiful pens. So
oh
it's
yes,
all
there's
types of arts.
all the artists. They're so creative, and the beauty of this event is like every year is different. Even though we might have some repeating artists, the work that they're producing is just amazing, and I'm always happy to see those pieces coming. Always, every year.
So based on everything that we've seen already so far, obviously you know more or seen more than we have. What's your favorite piece so far?
Oh,
That's like
give
the
us-
toughest question.
Give us like the top 3, top 4, that so you could go check them out.
actually, I do have an answer for that. And those are the pieces from the high school.
Okay.
And you know why? Because they're new artists. They're still in high school. They're still developing. And when you see the pieces that they're producing at this age right now, 16, 17 years old, it's just incredible. And I just can't wait for them to see them like eventually in some galleries. Because some of the artists that are here, like when I travel to New York, Dallas, or Miami, I get to see them. And some of them even in the LA art show, so they participate. And it's always great to see something, but it's always exciting to see the new artists. That's the future of the art. They're the ones who, they're movers and shakers. So they're like amazing.
And you just showed us a 3-dimensional piece from the first place winner of the high school.
Correct. Well, a little correction. You're right, but it's actually 2-dimensional. But the way the way she approached it is 3 dimensions. Once you start looking at it, the more you look at it, it just like it keeps changing.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. So it's very talented.
In high school, I used to draw stick figures still.
Oh,
so
me too.
3-dimensional stick figures?
Yeah,
No?
3-dimensional. We used to just throw sticks at each other. That's how
There
we
you
became
go.
3-dimensional.
That's right. And just looking at the program here, obviously, it looks like you have about 7 some schools that have participated. Again, they're really good schools. Just the quality of work that they've submitted is amazing. Like I was telling Remo, for me, that was kind of like the one I gravitated just because you're starting to see artists that are kind of showing what's in their mind. Not specifically something topical. It's more like a kind of what they're looking at that specific day. So I thought the stuff that was there is really good.
You're correct. And also the conceptual pieces that they're producing. They're so abstract, some of them. They're like so colorful, so full of life, nice movement. Whatever angle you're looking at the piece, it's just so much. You just keep calling you to investigate and get more out of that piece. And it's extraordinary because I know some other, more seasoned artists, sometimes they have struggled doing it, but this kid seems like they just can do it.
Yeah, one of the pieces was the modern Medusa from the high school students. And so rather than the Medusa with the snake on the head, it's the snake in the mouth.
Right.
And so seeing a high school student, seeing that as their perception of Medusa,
Right.
it's a little bit different. So
yeah, those pieces are incredible, and some of them are very colorful.
And then also obviously looking at all this art, I'd say like 99%, if not 99, is for sale, right? It's has a price tag, and just looking at what you're getting for that dollar or that cost is quality work. I mean, the stuff that's there is very, I don't want to say affordable because it kind of lessens, I guess, the art, but it's attainable for the average person.
Oh yeah, and then one thing that I always say, like we have a piece of art for every person here, like because depending or accordingly to your budget, you can find pieces here. We have pieces that start like, I don't know, $20 and go up in the thousands.
Yeah, I saw Remo write a check for almost 10 grand for one piece.
Yeah, thank you, Remo. I
Good
really
luck with that check. That check is just go play basketball with that check.
or put it on the wall, it becomes art, right?
Yeah. There you go.
And then another thing that I need to tell you, like, I'm excited to see a lot of Latino artists participating this year. It's very exciting, especially me. You know, as a Latino myself, like this is very important for me. It's just joy all over.
So obviously for next year, somebody who's thinking about who didn't make it this time around and listens to the show, what would you say in terms of what we've seen, or even you, Remo? Like, what is it that you've seen that you guys could share with the audience so they could want to come back or come for the first time next year?
Well, next year is going to be our 60th anniversary. So what we're planning and doing, yes, it's going to be something big. We're planning, and we are going to be inviting all the past, future artists that we have. So instead of having only 2 or 1, we'll see how many we can get. Hopefully at least 25. Now imagine all these 25 artists that are very well accomplished, and they have all these beautiful pieces all together. Nice. It's going to be crazy. Crazy good.
Yeah.
And would it be at the same location?
Oh, yes. Well, if we're going to have more future artists, probably we're going to be allocated more. We're going to need more space to accommodate everybody.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Remo, what would you say for next year?
I don't know. Well, I'm going to give my plug to my people that are selling the pens because I think they're the coolest thing.
Oh, they're very good.
So it's, how do you say, Ozarks?
Ozarks.
Ozarks wood and stuff. They make these wood pens out of wood and
custom.
And they're
really
custom pens, yeah.
Not only wood, but what else?
One of them was
deer.
jeans. Yeah, deer, hair, jean material. I mean, and they kind of compress everything. I don't know the process, but they're beautiful pens, and they're pretty good price.
Just so you know, I have like 4 of us.
Oh,
yeah, I'm not like every guy in my family. They own at least one because I have given them. It's such a nice gift to give.
Very memorable, very unique. You're not finding those out.
All right. And don't forget the ladies. There's a lot of jewelry also here, and all the pieces are like handmade. There are no. Purchased from the store. They're like they make.
Let's
the pieces.
cut that out so my wife doesn't hear this.
Yeah.
Come on, wife, come over here.
I think it's for somebody who has not yet stopped by and hasn't been here for the first time. I guess if you come next year, come with some money in the wallet, because what Remo was just talking about was at the boutique, which is essentially like a little store with crafts and art pieces that are at a more reasonable priced, so you could buy it as a gift for whatever event or special occasion. So anyways, I'd say if you are going to stop by next year, definitely come hit the boutique.
Yeah, please, and you guys come back. This is your home, so
thank you.
The doors are open for you.
We'll see you next year.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Your word.
So Callie and Nancy, we finally made it. We're here in the featured gallery, actually, where you guys have all your art combined. I know in the podcast when we brought you guys on, you guys kept talking about a collaborative piece. Obviously, when I got here, that was like the first thing I was trying to find. Where is this piece? You guys had me on suspense. Can you guys describe a little bit about the actual piece itself? And of course, you guys are pointing to each other. You guys do the same thing me and Remo do.
Go ahead, Jessie.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly initiated the production of this piece, and she asked if I wanted to do a collaborative piece with her. And then when we talked about the size, I said, "Oh, I have a canvas." I said, "As long as you don't mind a 3-foot by 3-foot piece, I have a canvas that I started. So my first part of this job is done. You take it over now." So I gave
That's
it
the best collaborative.
I know. I said, "Good." So I gave the canvas to Kelly, and then she worked on it.
Yeah, I took it, and I was so thrilled because it was an abstract piece. I thought, oh, good, because that's something I thought I won't wreck one of her beautiful pieces. If it's an abstract piece, I can work with that. So I kept it, stood up, looking at it for about a month. Honestly, I'm telling you the truth now. I had it that long before I really touched it because I had to figure what was I going to do with it. Was I going to make it into something or keep it an abstract piece? And I was inspired by a kimono card that I had from a kimono show that I saw that had that same color in it. And I thought, we can turn it into a kimono. So I researched kimono pattern, and that's how I applied the the part of it that I did, I put a paper actually pieces on top of it. So I added that side where Nancy had a painted part. I added torn paper and cut paper on top of that, and then handed it back to her. And
it sat, and I looked at it for, well, it couldn't have been a month because we had to get it. I had to get it back to Kelly if I wanted to let her do another bit. So I probably looked at it a couple of weeks, and then same kind of a process because when from Kelly's part there were new colors added, but there were also colors from the old painting that then I really didn't like. So I started with that and painted some of those out, and then added more floral type thing.
Right.
And then, but I knew Kelly was coming to Whittier for the podcast, so I said, I gotta finish this up. And I said, okay, now you finish it. Gave it back to Kelly.
Now, and so I missed the first podcast, so let me ask you as a listener would be thinking. So the idea is it's a piece that goes back and forth between you ladies. Who gets to actually finish it?
Well, we were just talking about that today. I said, who gets to take it home if it doesn't sell? Yeah. And I said, is there a price on it? And Kelly said, well, we could keep going. So potentially it could keep evolving.
Well, then we could enter it into another show.
Right.
How cool would it be if you bring it back for the 60th year as a collaborative
completely
piece?
But yeah.
Right. Because, I mean, there are times when I feel like a painting's not quite there, but you also want to know when to stop. So, and with two people working on it, two artists, it could go on forever.
That's a great idea, though. That's what we're going to do.
We'll tell Roberto.
And we'll completely finish it. Because I see things I still would like to do to it. And we had to kind of call it to be hung for this show, so we had to kind of stop. But I certainly see things that I
Well, the funny part is that I had originally on the first painting kind of a general idea of which direction, top and bottom, it would go. Then Kelly took it. She goes, well, how about this? And she turned it upside down. And I said, well, that's an idea. Then when she gave it back to me, I turned it the other way. And I said, well, how about this? And then when we got together, I said, but I still don't like this down here. And she goes, well, how about this? And she turned it over again. So it's been going up and down the whole time.
We might have to wire it both ways, and then we can hang it up half the time one way and half the time
or wire
right
or
rotate it.
Yeah,
just
rotate it around. Yeah, in the middle. It's been fun to talk to about because people come up and we didn't give a giant explanation with it. It just says a collaborative piece. So when I see people stop, I try to run and explain because I think it's really fun. So I have fun talking about it, and people are like, "Oh my!" I never heard of somebody working with another artist before. So I said, "Yeah, it's been."
And
really
there were
fun
artists
process.
when I mentioned that this is what we were going to do. They would say, "Well, aren't you just so scared? Why would you ever want to do that?" And I thought, no, this is kind of fun, because I didn't know what Kelly was going to do, and I like sort of that spur of the moment work off of something else.
Maybe I'll just speak for myself. I wasn't totally aware of what your style was. I didn't know a lot about Nancy's work, so I really didn't know what. I thought she was going to do very fine pen work or something like that. That's what I expected. So I really didn't know what to expect.
Well, I've had this canvas since the 70s, so.
And I was going to say, I've seen collaborative pieces that have gone back and forth between artists. You could almost tell, something has a certain style and then the other one has a different kind of style. And it doesn't completely kind of mesh.
It's not as collaborative.
Yeah, it's like one and one.
Yeah. But this one looks like something that it could essentially be a single artist with just a different take on something like that,
Yeah.
We
could make up a name.
There you go.
Yeah. I never thought of it.
Because you look at the layering, right? I mean, it's all kind of, that's what it was. It's a layering piece, so.
Yeah, because it could have been a disaster, right? And then we would have left it out.
Maybe, but when I think about your style and how I work in terms of if I do acrylics, my watercolors are quite different than my acrylics. It seems like it had to have worked, there's no room for disaster.
Well, we just approached it like, I don't care what you do, and I even told Nancy, I said, and if it doesn't work out and you don't feel good about it, we don't have to do it. Because I thought, the last thing you want is somebody to pressure you into something, and
Yeah.
it's not fun as an artist. You don't need any. Believe me, with all this, we don't need any more pressure. This was
That's
a lot
right,
of pressure.
that's
this
right.
Show.
Right, but you know what was nice about that little end of pressure was that I knew I had to kind of stretch myself and think differently, get out of the box that I was in doing other work that were current, and work on a piece that was quite different. And what did I want to do? So there's a little bit of a push that's nice to expand your horizons.
In a good way.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Fabulous.
we've been asking the question, two questions. One is for future guests for next year, the ones that didn't make it this year. What would you say to kind of like what is there like anything you saw that was special this year that somebody should come out and look for?
Well, the people who have never attended the show, when they come, the surprise is that there's so much fabulous art here. And I'd say that you have to spend a certain amount of time, though, because there is so much art. To be able to see it all is quite difficult.
Yeah.
But the demonstrators are fabulous.
Well, there's such a variety, which I think it's not all watercolors. It's not all photography. I mean, you don't see that often where it's such a variety like this is. So.
And beautiful, beautiful pieces. So
Yeah. Do you guys have, other than your own kind of work, do you guys have like that one piece that stands out in this whole gallery today? Or in the
For
whole
the whole
show?
show?
The whole exhibit?
Oh, you do?
well,
What?
yes, but I haven't
I have to think about
looked
it.
real carefully at everything, which I've been trying to do all day, but I haven't been able to. But Bianca Rice, who is the other featured artist, has this pastel. It's got to be 4 feet by 3 feet of a crow. And because it's a pastel, the feather, if I could take that home under my arm,
We won't tell her.
I would.
Well,
I would take
and
it.
I have to agree with you. That's mine too. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon because it's black paper and it's a beautiful blue. It started as black paper, and you guys have to go look at it.
Yeah,
Done.
you should go see it.
blue. You would not know. I mean, but that's what gives it the luminous effect.
And it's a
absolutely
singular
fantastic.
crow
Done. We're
Moving,
going to go
it's
out
very
there.
moving. You have to
right
see it.
across the
Right.
Well, ladies, again, thank you for being on, and we're going to continue to enjoy the show, and I guess we'll see you guys next year.
Great. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming. Appreciate it.
So we're here with another artist who's actually exhibiting in the art show, but you have something a little bit different because it seems like you have a lot more pieces that are actually for sale, it looks like. Before we get into that, let's introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Circe, and I sculpt animals in ceramic clay mostly and some bronze. And I've got a little bit of other things that I do here at the little booth. And I'm also demonstrating how I finish the pieces, and also yesterday I was demonstrating how I sculpt the little tiny ones so people could see how it's done.
And that's what I was kind of getting at. That's very unique because most of the stuff that you got going on the inside is all wall-hung art. But here it's actually sculptures. Tell us a little bit about the sculptures you have here today, and then what inspires you to do that?
Nature inspires me. It always has. And I've been an animal sculptor for probably 30 years now. And
Wow.
I worked with figurine companies before this, and then I went back to finish my degree a few years ago that I had started many years ago. And I got back into ceramic clay sculpture and finished my BFA. And now I've kind of brought the two things together, my animal sculptures I was making for the companies, and now I'm doing one-of-a-kind pieces. And using fired-on colors, and I make them at the shows or at home and show my work.
Is there a favorite animal or pet that you like to... I see most of them are dogs.
Well, the dogs are a kind of different body of work that I do for the companies. But if you look around the table at the front of it and you see all the wildlife, those are my passion is the wildlife. Actually, and I guess if you ask me a favorite animal to sculpt, it would be otters and bears. Those would be number 1 and 2. I've made a lot of them, and the otters are so free-flowing, and especially when they're underwater, so playful. And bears are just fun. I just love bears.
I was going to say, with all that fur they got going on, I'd say it's probably the more difficult one.
The bears?
How do you interpret that, or not interpret, but how do you create fur on something that's so stiff as a ceramic, you know?
Well, the way I make my pieces, there's different ways to make hand-built, ceramic sculptures, and so some people use like a coil method where they build up with all these round snake-like coils into the whole form. Other ones make an armature with newspaper that will burn out in the kiln. But I make my sculptures solid, and then I dig out the clay. You have to have a hollow piece, because if not, steam will build up and it'll blow it up in the kiln when it begins to expand, the steam. Yeah. So you have to have it hollow, and there has to be an escape route, like a hole somewhere in it, so it can come out.
That explains why most figurines I have at home have a hole in the bottom.
That's right. Yeah, and you'll see that with a lot of things. You'll see the little tiny holes.
Is that something you learned firsthand, or did you blow up a couple of things?
No, I've had very good instruction when I started in community college a long time ago, and then I went to Cal State under Vincent Suez. He was my instructor there. And they just give you a lot of instruction on how to make these things work. And you learn the different clay types. They call them clay bodies. You learn the different types. And there's sculpture ones, and then there's some for throwing on the wheel where they might have no kind of like grit or sand in them. But the sculpture bodies tend to have what they call grog, which is harder pieces of already fired clay ground up in the green clay. Mm-hmm. So that way it has an open body so the steam can come out.
Yeah.
What is the biggest piece you've ever sculpted? Are these all...
Oh, that's a good question. Most of my pieces are, I think, probably about 20 inches I've done, but I have not done a really large piece yet. Some of the sculptors do. And you'll see a lot of them do things where they combine pieces together. So post-firing, they'll combine it together into a sculpture. And they can get very large with those,
Nice.
We have a limitation with the sizes of the kiln.
The kiln, yeah.
So that's one way that we get restricted. So they will just fire the pieces and put them all together that way.
Very cool. And if somebody wanted to buy these pieces online, or is there any? Do you have an online store, or they can reach you somehow?
Yes, I have my first name, Circe, Circe.gallery, and you can see some of the work there. And I don't have it as a purchase site necessarily, but you can email me and commission something if you have a favorite animal and you want to see it, or you can just see a variety of my pieces there.
Very cool.
Do you do sculptures for someone brings their pet?
Yes.
Or a picture of it? Oh,
that's
really?
my other site, custompetsculptures.com.
Wow.
And if you want your dog or your cat or your horse or whatever, and you want a portrait done with that, I just need pictures, and we go from there.
Well, Remo's going to get one with his dog.
Yeah, right on my lap.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and especially a lot of times I get people that have lost their pets, and they want some sort of memorial piece for it.
Correct, sure.
So it kind of brings it all together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, for anybody out there looking to get a sculpture of their dog or pet, right?
Yeah.
Reach out to you. Thank you.
Okay, custompetsculptures.com.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay, right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we're here with another artist, actually a working artist right now, right? You're
yes, I'm working with a Korean-style Enkoji pottery wheel, and it's a form of coil construction, and you can make massive pots with this method. 200, 300, 800-pound pots, and Korean, culturally, they would make these huge pots, and then they would store fermented vegetables and things in them for food storage, during the winter.
And you start with the bottom, the base, and just keep adding to the pot? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I have prepared my coil material here, and it's like an inch thick, and it's 12 inches, 13 inches long, and then I just prepare it and make sure it's solid. I've already manipulated it once and pounded it, and try to get the air out of it and all that other stuff, and make it uniform consistency.
Is there anything inside of it? Other than the clay, is it like sticks or?
No, it's just clay. It's clay. This clay is called mid-range sculpture body, and it has fire clay at like 35%, and then it's got ball clay, Kentucky stone ball clay, 35%. Then it has grog, which at 30%, two different kinds. One's 48 mesh, which is a larger size, and then a smaller 200 mesh. And what that does is essentially they take clay and they cook it into bricks. They make it into a brick, and then they grind it up, and then you put that in. So I got 30% like already fired clay in here.
Wow.
And then the fired clay, it allows the clay to be fired at a high temperature and not melt and deform. And then the Kentucky stone, the ball clay, adds plasticity, which allows it to be manipulated and not crack. And so you can make amazing stuff with this.
Well, the stuff we're looking at behind you that you've already done and finished. Most of it's like it looks like bowls and
yeah, these are works done using the pottery wheel, and it's all different kinds of clay. Like this orb is like made out. It's porcelain. This is another kind of this is stoneware. It's made. It's called Zam Super Body. It's very nice and mushy and really easy to work with. And then I got another stoneware here. That's a real basic stoneware. It's almost like the mid-range sculpture body, but it's got feldspar in it, which is a volcanic mineral, which creates more of a glass-like consistency.
And these are all one of a kind, all handmade.
Yep, all one of a. Yeah, there's not another one like it. You just keep making them. I mean, you can make I've made a lot of bowls. They're similar in shape, but they're not all the same.
And how long does one of these pieces maybe take? One of these bowls?
To make one of these, I mean, when you sit on the potter's wheel and actually make it, it might take 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then the next you let it dry out a little bit, and then the next day you come back. And then, like, I shaved it and did things to it to give it more, to remove material and to give it a nicer form.
And how about the color? How do you add when do you add
the color? These are all specialty glazes that I've actually made. I order the minerals that I will use to make the glaze, and I've researched recipes that seemed like they would be good or compatible. I do a lot of research, and like this glaze is a volcanic ash / pumice and Gersley borate glaze, and it's got some tin oxide and some zircopax or zinc oxide in as well. And then I put a colorant. This is a mason stain called burgundy, whatever, or Bordeaux red. So I put it in as 5%, and then I do that, and then I put another color. I fired this again, and I put a different glaze on, which is a totally different kind of glaze, which I know is more. It doesn't run as much or whatever. It doesn't get affected by the other glazes.
Yeah.
So.
And what got you into?
Well, I'm a teacher. Okay. I'm a school teacher, and I'm an artist, number one. And so I've been making art and working with all different kinds of materials for my whole life. So,
forever, yeah.
Yeah. So when I was in college, I made sculptures I mixed my own clay in school, and I made sculptures and I made plates and stuff. And I didn't have a potter's wheel. I just didn't by hand.
Yeah.
So I'm making art. That's how I kind of felt about it. And then later, I worked with all different kinds of material. I mean, I'm sculpt and I paint and I draw and all stuff, and eventually became an art teacher.
Nice.
And so I teach ceramics and also drawing and painting. So,
very cool.
And I just keep going. I love this. It's one of my favorite things to do.
So if somebody is interested in looking at your art or your ceramics or your pottery, where will they? Do you have a website or Facebook?
RussellDoherty.net. That's Russell Doherty, RussellDoherty.net, and that's where you could see my art.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having us on or coming on, and again, we'll see you on next year.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
Very excited. Thank you so much.
And we're here with another artist.
Yes.
A very creative mind.
Thank you so much.
I'm looking at the stuff you have hanging, and it's definitely not for me because why, Remo?
It's not your color, Jessie. That's why.
But I must say that I have sold some of my pieces to different rock bands, including the one called Styx. I don't know if you remember those guys. Yeah, and a few guitarists also. So,
well, before we go into what you have here, introduce yourself. Tell us your name, and then, then tell us what you do.
Yes, my name is Dominique Vialard. The name of my company is Art Couture. I've been doing clothes, one-of-a-kind pieces for like 30 years now. This is a second career. I used to be an art director for commercial TV, and I arrived in America, and the people were asking more about my clothes than my ability to do commercials. So I said, okay, that's what I do, and since then I've been touring California.
Nice.
With my things and paying all my bills with that and having a lot of fun. So
very cool, very
yes.
cool.
And when you say the custom pieces, can you explain maybe what some of the pieces that you have here that you do?
Yes, everything I do is one of a kind.
Okay.
So I think that's what interests my customers. It's like buying a painting. You're not going to see yourself coming and going. So I do, big coats, shorter jackets. I do things who have a feel like a art gallery, like very colorful. I do also a lot of black and white because people feel safe with black and white. It's the perfect balance of color. I do all kinds of things who are comfortable.
And what are these called? Do they have a name to the specific type?
Two guys here, we look at them, and are they jackets? Are they shells?
I would say that they are high-end, artistically inclined outerwear. So it's things that you wear outside.
Okay.
I don't do the top and the pants and all that. No, I leave that to factories, and I do what you wear over that.
Yes. And I love the price tag. I mean, I just saw that one there, and in big letters says unique. I mean, that alone is a way to sell something because you're right. You're not going to find it somewhere else. So
yes. And I do my own tags, when I'm finished sewing. That's the last thing I do. It looks a little bit too simple, but, yes. I used to make a big, I write AC in my clothes. I used to write the whole thing, Art Couture, but I don't have time because it's, I have years where I can do that if it is a little slow. Yeah. But since, the economy for me has been
What's
better.
your favorite piece so far here in your...
I like the things that I do with several pieces of fabric that I assemble. So I do kind of short kimono jackets with like 10 fabrics in the same jacket.
And was that a silk or what?
No, it's whatever fabric I find. So I mix. It can be the sleeve could be silk, and then the body is going to be rayon, and so it's all different. It's a fabric who talks to me, and I put them together, and I hope that they talk about the same thing. Yes.
Very nice.
Yes.
Definitely Remo's color. I see Remo wearing something like that.
Yes.
You see, this one I call the gallery, but I will do also those who are black and white. This please a lot of people because it goes everywhere.
Really nice.
Any age. Black and white is never out of fashion.
It's timeless, yes.
Yeah. It's timeless for any age.
That's
we love black and white.
That's right. In terms of, obviously, the stuff you got going on here, do you also do art separately from what you do here? This is specifically
I never tried. I don't have time because, I have to produce at least 15 pieces a week.
Yeah.
So I don't have time to do another type of art. But I would, I think that when I will be too old to do my because I drive a lot, I go to the desert, I'll try something else. Because, I'm sure I would love it.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. So for people who are looking for your specific type of fashion or outerwear, do you have a website where they could go and find this?
Yes, you could go on my website, which is called Art, like Art, Couture, COUTURE, Dominique, my first name.com. ArtCoutureDominique.com.
Perfect. Awesome. So anybody out there looking to get a custom piece, one of a kind, reach out.
Unique.
And, show us a picture.
Yeah, I have tons of pictures of my website. And if you are somebody who is inclined to buy one-of-a-kind things, you go online, you Google art and crafts Arts and Crafts Show on Google, and you put Southern California, and you will have all the shows which are happening, where and what date.
Perfect.
And you can have all your weekends filled by art.
That's right. That's
Yes.
right. Well, again, Dominic, thank you for having us
My
on.
pleasure.
And again, everybody enjoy the show.
Very good. Thank you so much.
And now we're at another exhibit here where we have an artist who's actually working on a piece while she exhibits her other pieces. Before we get into what you do, if you can introduce yourself, and then after you introduce yourself, tell us what type of art you do.
All right. My name is Dawn Mendelson. I am a mosaic artist, and I specialize in pique-assiette, which is French for stolen plate. And it's named after a man who used to collect whatever he could find in France, and he mosaiced his whole home inside and out.
Wow.
So it's using recycled materials.
It sounds like what Remo does. He steals a lot of stuff, but
Tell me more.
Where do you put it?
So are these a certain type of plates? Or I see little pieces with this mosaic. Do you take something and break it and kind of recreate it for something else?
Exactly, yeah. So I use a lot of recycled materials. As you can see, I have a lot of broken bowls, cups, plates, scrap glass, and fashion them together into either abstract or representational pieces.
How long does one of these pieces take you to put together?
Well, I've been working on this piece, which is, I believe, 16 inches by 16 inches for 2 days now. So, and I'm almost done.
Wow.
So I'd
And
say
is it a sunflower?
It is a sunflower.
Okay.
Yay!
I got that one right. Well, I got it
Yeah.
towards almost the end, and it says sunflower on the top. No,
Oh,
I'm just
does
kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's
No,
great. Yeah.
I'm good with the abstract.
And what's again, looking at something like, where does that start from? Like, is it you first find the pieces and then come up with the idea after effect, or you?
It depends. Sometimes I'm really inspired by the pieces that I find, and sometimes I'm working from a concept. So right now I've been working on food flowers, which are the blossoms from food. So I have 3 pieces in the show that are a tomato blossom, and then I have a strawberry blossom, and so now I'm doing a sunflower because you can eat the seeds. So yeah.
And I'm looking at the piece, the sunflower itself. I mean, these little pieces on the inside, is that also ceramics?
Those are sea urchin shells. So
Oh, wow.
I just thought they looked really nice and to represent a sunflower, those little tendrils that are in there.
Pop out.
And then I hand painted each one to go with it because typically they're white.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, it's beautiful stuff. I mean, we're looking at the other stuff you got on display here. Out of all this that you got going on, what's your favorite piece?
I think the turquoise wall hanging in the middle is my favorite because it's a combination that uses all kinds of different materials. So it has metals in it, it has ceramic, it has glass, it has stone, and it just has a nice feeling of the seashore to me. So that's my favorite piece.
And it's very three-dimensional.
It is very dimensional. Yeah, a lot of unique things in there, like gears and things like that. It's really fun.
And I'm looking at the mirror, and then you also have like a picture frame that's also ceramic, kind of a combination. Again, just useful art, right? I mean, it's not just sitting
Functional,
there.
absolutely.
Functional art.
Functional art, absolutely.
And where did this passion come from mosaics?
Well, I've been doing it for 20 years, and I started by doing a little kit just to see if I would like it, and I fell in love and never looked back. So I've been doing it for a long time. And I do larger pieces as well as the small pieces. So
What's the largest piece you've ever
well, we've
together?
done, I work also with a nonprofit in downtown LA teaching mosaic art to adults recovering, getting back on their feet after being homeless. And we did a 40-foot wall by about 6 feet tall of all flowers. It's a beautiful piece. I have a picture in the book there.
How long did something like that take, and how many people?
It took us a few months, and we started out as a practice to learn how to cut. And when we shared on social media what we were doing, other people wanted to participate, and we ended up getting flowers from around the world. So we have 4 or 5 different countries mailed us flowers, mosaic flowers, and 10 different states mailed flowers. So we had over 500 flowers as a huge community project. It was really awesome.
And when they send them over to you, do they send you a complete flower ready to put up, or
yes.
do they send? Oh, they do.
Yeah,
okay.
there's a thing that you use that's fiberglass mesh, and you tack the pieces to the mesh. So what they did is create those smaller pieces, and then we could take that and use thin set to adhere it to the wall. So we put them all together into a fashion.
So you didn't have a handful of people breaking the
always.
plate,
Somebody's always breaking
and then
plates.
putting them together.
Sounds like Remo.
Yeah, that's a great job.
Now you have a place to drop off all the broken plates you
I
break.
just don't want to pick them up.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you had a piece where it accidentally breaks and then you're reusing it for another piece?
Absolutely. Sure, that's happened. Yeah.
Oh man, I think this is probably one of those fun types of projects that I need to get into.
It's a lot of fun. Once you start, it's really hard to stop.
At
I'll
this
tell
point,
you
if
that.
you break it, it's okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a practical question. Do you get worried when some of these kids are running around?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't. No. I think actually the kids are drawn to it a lot. Because it's a very tactile art.
That's
you know?
why.
So,
You're going to see kids almost come and
that's
touch
okay,
and poke.
yeah. Mosaic is meant to be touched, actually.
That's right, that's right. Dawn, where would somebody, if they want to see and your collection and obviously reach out to you to purchase special pieces, how can they contact you or reach you?
I have a website. That's my name, dawnmendelsohn.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Is anybody out there who's interested to see the stuff that we're looking at, check out the website. Again, beautiful colors, beautiful pieces, very, very creative stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So what did you think, Jessie? We're all done now?
Man, I think we got to go get something to eat. What are you buying, friend?
Yeah, I know.
That's normally how the conversation usually ends with us, huh? Yeah, we saw some good eatery or some good places here. Let's go grab a bite. To those that are listening, all the people's places will be on the show notes, so you can check those out. And look forward to next year.
And again, what we interviewed is just not even a percent, right?
Tip of the iceberg, yeah.
There's a lot more out here. Again, it's kind of hard to try to explain everything we're seeing. But if we were able to capture all this, it'll be amazing eye candy for those that are watching. So,
and those that are listening.
Yeah, that's right. And with that said,
all right, we'll see you later, Whittier.
See you later, Whittier.
Bye.